2022 Stanley Cup champions.
Hello, everyone. I am Britt. Next to me is Nick. We are part of the MHRT podcast network here on the Clusterfuck podcast. If I can even talk today, it's I feel like I've been talking all weekend, so we'll get right into it. There's a lot to talk about, and at the same time, it feels like there's a whole lot of nothing to talk about. It's been a roller coaster, and that roller coaster is nowhere near stopping, but at least we can kind of take a break and put our hands down for just a second right now, it feels like. How's it going,
Seems
Nick?
like it. It's good. I'm freezing, but it's fine. You know, these things happen. I don't know if I'm warm-blooded, cold-blooded. I don't know. But no, it's good. Finally back in the win column. That's the first piece of good news. But it took a 4-game losing streak to do it.
When was the last time we had a 4-game losing streak?
Oh, it feels like it was like
learn to lose again.
Yeah, it feels like it was like 2019 or something like that. It was a long time ago. Long time ago. But, you know, feels good.
And not just losses, some brutal, really painful losses.
Yeah, definitely. And it kind of all, I don't know, because, and I was just going to bring this up, actually. It's, you know, even with Lehkonen and Nichushkin back and whatnot, like those few games, especially like Philadelphia and Boston, those were the two that hurt the most, and in their own rights, right? Their own different kind of ways. So like I guess we'll jump right into it. In that Philadelphia game, you thought like it was going to be no problem, even with all the injuries that have mounted and everything like that. You thought you were going to be able, no problem, to walk in, grab a win, feel good about yourself, have some kind of momentum gain, and it's just the opposite of, honestly, of what you were hoping to get. And that was, there's a lot of big kickers there in that game, but I think the biggest one was losing Nathan MacKinnon for sure.
Yeah, that game was up until that game, everything was, you know, we've got injuries, but as long as we've got Mac and as long as we've got Makar, we can make it through. And then Matt goes out and he doesn't go out in some mysterious, we don't know what's wrong. I mean, you saw him hurting. He took that shot. You saw him wince on the bench, and you don't see Matt hurting.
He doesn't do that a lot. No.
That sucked the wind from the game and from, I could imagine, the players, from the fans. It was just like, oh my God. And then that was pretty early in the first, about halfway through the first-ish.
It was relatively early, yeah.
Yeah. And then we just heard nothing for the longest time. And then when they said he wasn't coming back, it was just like, just throwing the towel. Like it was
just like, what else could you possibly want from us? You know, it's like, we already gave everyone injuries.
Yeah, we didn't know when it happened. It was kind of weird. He had that weird little moment with Laughlin where, I mean, he was just kind of checking him half, you know, like.
It looked like he was almost like checking his ribs.
Yeah, and Mac had like the weirdest reaction and look on his face, and then he took that shot, and then he got on the bench, and you could see him kind of being called off. I don't know if he had originally intended to go off or if somebody was saying, okay, you need to come here quick.
That's a little more serious.
Like you walk there. Yeah.
Yeah. No, so and that's just it. That was one of the couple buzz kills that were going on in this game. Yeah. That one, like you're already down so many thousand players on your roster. We've half the roster, I think.
Yeah.
And in fact, no, it was a graphic that I saw. I think it was against the St. Louis game, but the Avalanche have gone through the most players with like 35 or something like that. Like that is.
And that's what they said last year. That he's like 39 in total roster spots, I think.
Yeah,
so
it's just ridiculous. But and you thought in this game, like, you were off to a great start. You know, Alex Newhook gets a power play goal, and about 3-4 minutes in the game.
Yeah,
and you're thinking, you're like, great, everything's kind of running exactly how we thought. and then first period, it dips just completely down
Yeah.
from there up until probably the last 2 minutes of the game. So, it's like Sanheim gets his goal to tie it up, and you're like, okay, that's fine. But you thought the way we were playing,
Right.
you'd be able to just get a goal back, keep away, whatever the mentality and game plan was going into that game. But
Yeah.
then it was Lisinski that like with a minute and 50 left or whatever in the period, it's like that just sucked all the momentum
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
off
Well, and
the
then, I mean, the
Avalanche.
second period, we only had 5 shots altogether. So that's,
Yeah.
you had Cal with a beautiful breakaway. Should have been an absolute given. Totally missed that one. But it was a very good save. But that could have been the game changer. And that
Yeah.
basically just summed up the game in its whole. Was
Pretty much. Yeah.
I
Because for as
huge-
dead as that second period was, D'Angelo has the power play goal, and you thought your power play, I mean, that's gotten a lot of exercise in the last
Right.
how many handful of games.
Yeah.
And you thought it was pretty okay because Philadelphia, I think, what were they, either dead last in the league or really low down in the league as far as their power play unit was
Yeah.
concerned. So you thought you'd be okay even with McKinnon out at that point.
Yeah.
But you're down 2-1, but you never really thought, or excuse me, at that point 3-1, you never really thought it was completely out of hand.
Right.
I then began to feel that way as soon as it went to 4-1, though, because I was
Right.
like, "Are we?"
Well,
We
and
just
then you
can't
have
do
Newhook
anything,
taking a puck directly to the cheek. So
right?
hard
Like
that it
here,
left
yeah.
rubber on his face. Like
He got
actual
like road burn, like it was that bad.
Oh my
Ugh.
gosh. And
Yep.
then for him to stay out and score a goal is like, I don't know. It's just crazy how we have a cold and we call in sick to work. And then this guy's like literally
Takes a
I
puck
think that
with
they
it.
said in the broadcast, I'm pretty sure that they said it was a 93-mile-an-hour shot that hit him in the face. And
It was.
don't know that it deflected off anything.
Isn't that the beauty of hockey, though? It's
No.
like these guys are beyond tough, where they're taking a very dense and heavy piece of rubber right to
Yeah.
the face, and that thing's traveling at 93 miles an hour.
And
Like
especially
that's
when
impressive.
Yeah, he's been criticized for being a little soft at times. So I keep saying there was like this moment on the bench where they showed him and it's like he literally like kind of shook his head and it's like you could just see him transform like
Oh yeah,
from this boy to like an angry
gone
man. God, he looks
Super
so
Saiyan.
oh my gosh, he looks so mad and I just adrenaline and stuff with pain not hurting as bad at the time is so true.
Oh
I
yeah,
cannot even imagine what his face felt like the next day. I don't like you got to imagine that
a
just
lot of
messes
pain
up all your
meds.
sinuses.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
but luck, and he stayed in the game, and he ends up being one of the 2 people that scores an almost back-to-back goals, and so
Yeah.
then that's just it, right? You thought even down 4-1, you were like, you score a goal, you're like, okay, yeah, cool. That was at least a good try. You thought it was probably too little, too late because that was with like 2.5 minutes left in the
Yeah.
game, and then Newhook comes right back after that by like another minute or so thereabouts, and
That's
you're
good.
only down by 1 at this point, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, we could come back in the span of 3 minutes. We could tie this game, because it was like, where was this? First of all, during the second period, during the
Right.
opening part of the third period, but it's like that all doesn't matter at this point. It's like you're trying to get one more goal, an arid pass happens, Konechny grabs it, empty netter, and you lose 5-3.
Yeah.
So it hurts, but at the same time, it's like how many of these, and this is a question I'd pose to you, Brittany, how much of this play and the results that are coming out of it, how much are we chalking that up to the injuries and the fact that we don't have a full roster?
I think it'll be easier to look back at this time once we see a couple guys come back to see how we bounce back, which by the games following, it's easy to see that with everybody added, makes us play better and ultimately end up winning games. So I think that we'll be able to look back and blame it easily on the injuries. I hope so, because I'm hoping that we don't still have, we're not losing like this when we have our top 6 back, or even, 2 of our top 6, couple more. I really do think a lot of it is injuries. You're seeing a lot of just really, really dumb, just not even dumb, but just amateur mistakes.
Yeah.
Things like that Myers turnover in the last game, stuff like that, that
Mhm.
really we don't give up a lot when we've got a healthy roster. And on top of
Yeah.
that, I just even especially in this Flyers game and really the last few games, McCarr and Tays, Gerard, just a lot of these guys are not performing well because they're being forced to be on the ice for
Mhm.
25 to 30 minutes a game. So we're not seeing the best out of the guys that are out there because they're being, they're being overutilized. And so I think we're only getting about 2/3 out of them because we're stretching it out way too far. So I'm hoping that we'll see a bump from the guys that are out there and from the guys that are injured. Once we have a little bit more balance out there and these guys aren't mentally also carrying the team. Rantanen is not, as much as I love Rantanen, he's not a leader. I mean, he's Max, he's the right-hand man. He's not I just don't think that he's born to be the one who leads and pulls the team consistently on a regular
Mhm.
basis. I think that he definitely knows when to step in and he'll make stuff pop when he needs to, but I don't think that that's the right role for him to consistently have to lead and haul the entirety of the team on his back. And especially too, just like mentally on the bench, we're missing a lot of very powerful voices.
A lot of veteran
Really
presence for
important
sure.
people.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. And that was actually a very interesting thing you brought up as far as like the AHL players, those who typically aren't on the squad.
Hmm.
You saw like Philly, yeah, mm, Boston, they were in even more of a low. But then at that point, they started to kind of gel together. And I don't know if that's
Right.
just because they're used to playing with each other on the AHL side of things, where all of a sudden everything's starting to click. But you see players like Foodie and stuff like that, and
Right.
Hudon. He's been really good actually. Not too
Right.
many mistakes or anything that has jumped out to me. But I'm hoping at this point because of the time or the time they've had with the team and the games they have under their belt and stuff like that. I'm really hoping that this kind of begins to be a new like pendulum swing for those younger guys,
Right.
excuse me, that don't have that experience so that they'll begin to net some goals. Like I thought for sure in that St. Louis game, Foodie was going to net one.
Oh, I
I
know.
I thought for sure he was going to. Like he looked really, really well out there.
And if
And
any of
so
them deserved it, it's definitely him.
oh yeah, yeah. And then you call up Ben Myers and everything, a guy again, a younger guy you trust,
Right.
and a couple mistakes here and there,
Yep.
but at the end of the day, he's one of those trustworthy guys. So I guess the big if going into these next few weeks with those who are missing and into the new year and whatnot is can they keep that groove that they're beginning to notch and
Yeah,
and
I would
dig,
hope
and
so.
dig their heels.
Yeah. Well, and that Myers Hudon foodie line is really jiving good. And I don't know if that's just from some experience together at the AHL level. I said before the Flyers game, at this point, I think that the Avalanche are probably having to just adjust to the Eagles playing system as opposed to that the Eagles learning how to
No,
play the
definitely.
system because it's probably easier at this
Absolutely.
point. But yeah,
No, definitely.
I think that you do see a lot of people stepping up, and you also kind of see those who aren't gonna be able to hang. You're kind of seeing them fall back, and that's where we see the departure of Kaut.
And Galchenyuk, and
Right.
it's just the play. They with Kaut and even with Galchenyuk, they've had ample enough time to prove that they belong on the roster. But yet these young guys are I don't necessarily want to say like outdueling them, but for
Hmm.
lack of a better term, outdueling them for a roster
Right.
position because this is their time to actually go up to the top ranks, top
Right.
lines, whatever you want to call it, and shine. And it's all just a matter of who wants to do something with that limelight. And
Hmm.
right now it's proven that it's Foodie, it's Myers, it's Hudon, it's that's just kind of how the fact of the matter is right now. And if that's who our squad is for the next couple of weeks, then the big step up for them is to produce. Come with assists and goals and anything like that. So
Yeah.
they can, as soon as those players come back, now there's a tough decision to make between these up and coming new guys who are doing really, really well and those seasoned veterans that they might not be on the squad,
Right.
or healthy scratches, whatever it is, by the time the whole team comes back together.
Hmm. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. It's definitely interesting when you've got these guys doing it, which they're certainly not producing points wise. We're really not seeing much out of those guys. Considering I think Miko is the only player to have scored a goal in the last 3 games.
It sure seems like it.
Yeah. So, but it'll be interesting to see how they perform when they're surrounded by a little bit more talent, because it's hard enough to ask them to come up and score goals when they're next to, Mac, and they're playing on these lines with better players, but they're playing with each other. So, I mean, we've got amateurs with amateurs. It'll be interesting to see how they can excel when you've got better players next to them. But I mean, he's not all the way ready, but he definitely feels like
he's making very good strides.
So, yeah, considering he's had the shortest stint, I believe he was the last one called up.
Yep.
It's crazy the effect that he's had already, and he just works with the Avs. I mean, he's fast and he's smart and he's fearless, which is something that was a concern for him. So I don't know. That might be one of those blessings in disguise. I wouldn't say he's a diamond in the rough, because I think we all had high anticipation for him, but
sure.
It'll be interesting to see if he can stick through the playoffs. And then who ends up going down, it'll be very interesting.
Yeah, and that's just it's the good problem you want to have if you're Jared Bednar when all these people come back is, all right, I have these young guys who have been playing great,
Right.
but the greatness comes from not just A, not making mistakes, but B, actually scoring or getting assists or producing in some capacity. So that's the next big step for the new where's my wife? Kid line, if you will, is to then become the production of that kid line. It's not just, happy face, everything's great. Look, we don't make mistakes. It's okay. You've proven that the mistakes have been nullified to almost 0 per game or thereabouts. They're not massive mistakes. Now it's translate that to the offensive. If you can do that, then that gives Bednar just a really tough decision. The only bad part about that was in the following game against Boston, nobody did anything right. It just seemed like regardless of what we did, Boston was just like, we're just going to take another win. In fact, we're going to sweep you this time. And this season, blank you 4-0. It's like, well, what can you do? The squad's half of them's missing, like we've touched on several times. It was one of those where it's like you gave it a shot, but I don't know what else you could do in that instance,
Yeah, and I mean, with Boston, it was just it was sad because they looked okay in the first. Like, okay, maybe we're not going to get destroyed.
Yeah.
And then as the second started, you could just kind of see it just
the wheels start to fall off. And really there's just no two ways about it. I mean, in the first period you're like, okay, like this will be a close game. But even at home in front of your home crowd and stuff, you're just like, as soon as Boston scores, they're not going to stop. And sure enough, Pastrnak scores, and that's kind of when the dam breaks, and
especially
you just kind of throw your hands up.
Light suck after what's his face? Hunt had that fight. He had a perfect check on Pastrnak. Nice, clean, hard check. And then who was it? Nosek. It
was Nosek. Yeah.
I don't really understand having to answer the bell for a clean, hard check, which I guess I don't know. But so Hunt has limited positives that he can bring right now, it seems, and that was definitely one of them. It was one of those fights that does add some upbeat tempo or some, a little
get some kind of energy started.
Right, which we were lacking so much. I mean, the Boston game just felt kind of depressing from start to end. And then Pastrnak goes out there and scores like 2 minutes after. So it was like,
something like that. Yeah.
Killed that buzz. I'm going to fix my camera really quick. I can still hear you though. So
no, you're good. So the biggest thing though, like with that Boston game, it's like I don't necessarily want to say I was chalking this up to a loss, but you knew it was going to be difficult going in. So I think at that point, the big mentality was kind of more damage control. Try to keep it as an entertaining and as close a game as you can. but at the same time, you don't have the same firepower that you did at the beginning of the season, where you had Nichushkin, you had Lehkonen, you had McKinnon, you had basically everyone but Helm and Landeskog, and so different animal. I wish we could have seen them each play when they both had healthy squads, and I think Boston was plenty healthy, so just a healthier Avalanche squad is, I guess, the bigger thing. But end of the day, it's a loss. You're down two games in a row, and so you're thinking, okay, we really got to turn it around here against New York, and you almost did. That's the sad part. You were so close. You almost did. But you knew as Georgiev was starting, he started all three, because I remember we had our goalie talk last week, and we thought Francouz would start somewhere in there, but no, Georgiev started all three of the last week except for yesterday. And that was a much better game played by not only goaltending point of view, but just like it felt like the team, because that's when Nichushkin came back, and it's like everything just kind of flips over to a new page. Yeah,
and it was kind of that Boston game. All we've been saying is we just can't lose Mac or Makar, and so then we lose Mac, and then so we go into that Boston game not knowing when we're getting anyone back, not knowing how long Mac is going to be out. It was about the lowest point I could possibly think of for us to get. And so then we go into that Rangers game, and so now we've got Nuke back, so we know we've got this positive, which obviously he's going to be kind of rusty, which he definitely was. You could tell, and I mean, he seemed to get the wheels back pretty quick. But that game felt so much more. It certainly wasn't like the first Rangers game, but you could feel a new energy. There was a resurgence, and there's like some kind of hope at the end of the tunnel. And honestly, we outplayed them. We got goalied. I mean, the usual Shesterkin's going to have his comeback game after a little bit of a struggle. I mean, he played fantastic all around. He saved them for the most part. I mean, we outshot him 42-29. Which, so Georgiev, short of demanding a shutout, which I just don't think, even if there's 10 shots on a goal, you can't demand a shutout. I mean, it's just so hard to get a shutout, no matter.
It is very difficult. Yep.
So really, you can't blame it on him. The shootout, I mean, those two goals were.
Really it was just such a short shootout.
Yeah.
I just wish, like, I don't know, because it's like, what else can you do, to basically end the game on a skills competition? And that's kind of what I was talking to my wife about this a couple weeks ago or so, that I was like, they really need to redo the points system, where if you go to shootouts, so like if you win, it's 3 points. If you lose, it's 0. Overtime loss is 1, but a shootout loss is 2. Because it's like you made it the entire distance and then some, and it's like now it's up to 1-on-1.
I hate it. I hate shootouts so much. It's just so insane to think that 60 minutes of blood, sweat, and tears comes with 3 shots. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
especially when you've got like one superstar in almost every shootout. You'll have one of the best NHL playing superstars in the world with the puck and just accidentally and it's like that's not okay. Like and I think that's who was that. I think it was the first Rangers shot. Didn't he totally whiff it and just
he just missed entirely. In fact, let me see who that was. We could see here, Vincent Trocheck.
And then that last one was questionable forward momentum, which as a goalie
with Panarin.
Yes.
Or I don't know. Just watching that, I was like, he was creeping so slowly forward. It's not technically against the rules, but still, it's like that's kind of the dumbest thing, is where you slow to a stop. I think what if you were to change the rule, and I don't know what repercussions this would have, but change it to where you have to have it in the same stride. If you slow way down to and just kind of dangle the puck around and wait for the goalie to bite, I feel like that should be blown as a failed attempt.
Yeah, it sucks so bad as a goalie. I always tell people in my beer league, we went into like the first 6 games, we had like 5 shootouts, and one of the shootouts we went through the other team's lineup twice. And it's so hard in beer league when you have really slow shootouts, like shootout
Hmm.
shooters, because it's just you're on this like manic pace, and your blood is going, and then something comes in slow motion. Oh, it's just it takes the fun out of the game completely, and it's so boring to
Yeah.
watch. And it was kind of an
Yeah.
interesting decision. So Bednar goes with JT Confer. How did you feel about that right out of the gate?
I was very confused. I thought with who you have, go with Rantanen first because
Right.
he seems to in all the shootouts this season, he's been able to net. I think like 3/4 of them, 2/3 of them, whatever, however many we've gone to, he's made them. But with Comfer, I don't know what the idea was behind that. So
Mhm.
I wish I could say, but if it were me,
Yeah, no.
I would have gone Rantanen and then Makar.
Well, and then Rantanen, he went for the exact same lazy-esque kind of shot, just a little simple snipe, and it's like, do you not think Shesterkin didn't expect that, considering it's the
Like
exact same shot that you got him
that's
last
his
time?
first anticipation, I swear,
Right.
every time.
So he
But
knows right now. So I don't know. I thought it was a pretty not fun.
yeah. So yeah, the Rangers take out their revenge in the same fashion we we won in the Garden. They said,
Right.
"Okay, our turn," you know. So it's like I still think that would be a very fun Stanley Cup final matchup
Oh, for
between
sure.
those two because it seems like they're very very equal as far as heavy hitters go, who
Hmm.
skaters, goalies, whatever. It just seems like it's a very level playing field. So
Hmm.
that'd be really fun to have. But either way, it was you still got a point, which is like okay, we at least have some kind of breath of life, right? And jumping back to Nichushkin, just his presence being there, it was just like a breath of fresh air, honestly, because you just felt like you
Yeah.
were suffocating, and then
Yep.
Nuke comes back, and yeah, just feels it felt better, I guess, is one way to put it.
Yeah. It's the games prior to him coming back, it's just like you can't trust any minute on the ice without it being a possible, just
Hmm.
soul crushing moment, because we really just don't have even a full line of NHL players to where we can trust that something catastrophic might happen always. While it is getting better with the AHLers, there's still room for some wild mistakes.
Oh
The
yeah,
an eye for an eye.
yeah.
Oh, it
Hey,
would be a fun
hey,
series if
kid line.
which Foodie got 14 minutes of ice time against the
I
Rangers.
know that was
So you can
great.
tell that Bednar's digging him, which I consider time on ice like a direct sign from Bednar as to where he's, vibing. And I really think that I
Hmm.
think he likes Foodie a lot, and I think Foodie is going to get a pretty fair chance. You got to wonder
Four
if
shots,
yep.
third most on the team in that game, tied for third. Excuse me.
And he had some good passes too. And it
Yeah.
Gerard, Taze, and McCarr, I had down, they all had over 25 minutes. And it's like I just don't understand how long this is sustainable, especially when you consider December
I
has
know.
so many games. It's not like they're getting breaks. So I don't know. Uh, I mean, I don't know, does it get much easier for them even with the returning? I mean, Manson isn't back until the beginning of the year, right?
I don't know if I ever got a timetable or saw a timetable from when he's coming back. So it probably is the new year thereabouts because he was put on IR. So I think that's 2 weeks minimum, 3 weeks
Well, I
minimum.
think they put him on for a month, and didn't he get hurt right before Thanksgiving?
Oh, he might have. I
So
thought so. It was after the Winnipeg game, wasn't it?
I believe so. But I
So a
mean,
couple weeks ago, yeah. So
wouldn't put
he
him
could
back.
be back by the
Uh,
end of the year, but I'm not sure. I think who did they say is Rodriguez and Helm are actually the closest to return
yeah,
now.
I
Which
did see Rodriguez.
oh,
They were both on the ice in regular uniforms, but practicing just themselves.
oh
So
they didn't have the no contacts on. They
yeah,
were well. That's good. That's
yeah,
very good.
yeah. I
Because you need someone to pilot that fourth line, a veteran presence like Helm. That
God,
would
so
be just what the doctor ordered, man. Because Helm, it was my take on Helm was very, very. It fluctuated quite a bit because when he first came on, I
mhm.
was like, "Wow, this is pretty exciting." Like he was lifelong Red Wing, but he comes in. You win the Stanley Cup with him. You don't move on to the second round without him, or past the second round. But he always had those well-timed goals where you were just kind of wondering, it's like, oh, is he fading? And then boom, another goal. It's like he did enough to where you were like, I don't want to say reliant on him, but you could trust him to be a production on that fourth line, which is great. If he's the best one out there on that fourth line, more power to him, So that's good to know that they're back in regular sweaters, and hopefully by this time tomorrow they're both back.
How old is Helm? Hopefully, I wouldn't imagine he'll recover quite as quickly as everyone else, because I think he's pushing 40, 37 maybe?
He is 35.
Okay, so he's not ancient, but in hockey years.
He does carry that old man swagger about him, though.
Yes, he is.
He totally does.
Yeah, so hopefully it won't take him too long to get back in the swing. What was his surgery on? I always forget what his
was it his knee? It was like on his leg. No, Landeskog's was his knee.
Mm-hmm.
Helms, it was somewhere on his foot. Yeah, I think so. But
hopefully
he's close.
Yeah,
he's close, because if they both came back at the same time, that would be angels sent from heaven above, But right now they're not back. But regardless, in the game against St. Louis, Lehkonen comes back, and that is enough to get a win with Nichushkin and Lehkonen back. And oh my gosh, what a roller coaster of emotions that game was.
St. Louis can just never be normal games. It can
I just wish.
You can't ever just take a breath and, settle in. It's always it's got to be something. And that one, it was 0-0 until when?
10 minutes into the second period.
Yeah.
11 minutes.
And it was just so weird. It wasn't like outwardly violent. It was just tense the whole time.
It was, but tense in the way that, like, and exactly what you said. Not necessarily with like physical. There wasn't fighting. Like that was the most shocking part of the game. That's why I was like, are we sure we're playing the Blues? Like, are we sure? But it was just like any kind of momentum could just shift in the blink of an eye.
Right.
It was crazy. Oh my gosh. Like when Mikko scored the goal, all the momentum was on the Avalanche side. We were setting up shop in the zone, putting shots on Binnington. Everything was great. Well, but then one bad pass later, all of a sudden St. Louis has got all the momentum, and they're setting up, and we couldn't get out of the defensive zone, and blah, blah, blah. Oh my gosh. It was a nightmare. But miracles do happen within 7 seconds of any game. So
if they could have like not waited that long to make us
if their power play, and this is where you really think McKinnon is the difference maker on the power play. But even still, you have enough people. You have Lehkonen, Nichushkin, Makar, Taves out there on the power play, Rantanen. It's like that alone should be enough to score a goal, even against Binnington, So it's like, I don't want to necessarily give them a free pass, because they could have done it every single time. You're up a man, which is, it's easier for you to score a goal in kind of not necessarily the strictest definition, but it becomes an easier percentage to make something. But, at the same time, with Tarasenko's goal, you're like, okay, there's nothing really much Friendzone could do about that. But then you were thinking, just get to overtime. Because if I was thinking, if we could get to overtime, I think we'll win the game. Just how everything had played out, I was like, I'm pretty confident that we will win the game in overtime. Yeah, give St. Louis a point, but at least we're in the win column. You know what I mean? And then a minute 36-ish left, a shorthanded goal. It's like, because we were on the power play, everything was looking great. Like when that happened, I and my wife can contest to this, attest to it, is that I was kicking. We have a little pop-up hamper thing that we would do laundry with, and I was like just kicking that thing. I was so upset. I was like, is this really how we're going to lose the game?
Yep.
It hurt,
Yeah, and that was Makar. Wasn't that Makar that got burned right there?
So at the replays, he's going into the zone, but the puck kind of goes a little arid and it bounces off of the line
Ref?
judge.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, that's one of those instances. And yeah, as I'm upset about it, of course I want this to be the rule. But I was like, man, if there was a rule that said if a puck going the other direction is a direct result from touching a referee, it
Yeah.
should just be face off in the nearest dot.
Yeah, that
Like
was
if it's a direct, if it's a change of possession 2 or 3 times, then no, it's whatever. But if it's a
right.
direct result of a goal, I
It's a
don't
tough
think that should
call.
count.
Yeah,
But at
I
the
mean,
same time, refs are part of the eyes,
right.
so to speak. But it's
Well, and you gotta
like
hope they'll even out in the wash eventually. But yeah, that was like pretty much the worst timing humanly possible. And
it was.
especially when you had, and then they scored on Makar's double minor, which
Mm-hmm.
was so bizarre. Did you
It was
did
so
you see
weak.
blood?
I did not see
He
blood,
was
actually, believe
holding
it or
his
not.
nose like he was
I think
holding
he was
blood in his nose.
pinching and scraping to see if he could get any kind of blood.
Yeah, but
People
I
do
never
that.
saw any. Did you?
I didn't see any either. Like he held out his hand, and I'm like, that is
Mhm.
clean. Like he looks like he just washed his hands type clean.
That's what I was the
But
whole
but
time.
the high sticking call was such a joke because basically Kyrou lifts up Makar's stick, and as Makar's turning away to get away from the play, it's like if his head was down like this, it would have just kind of gone right past him. But Kyrou kind of looks up as Makar's skating away with his stick kind of in tow, and it just
Right.
kind of like swipes him. That could, first of all, yes, in the rule book that is a high stick. I'm not
Mhm.
happy about it, but it was a gentle caress.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a boom, It was just
Yeah.
something like a, oh, come here, boo boo thing. It's like I don't know what else to say. It's like that. It was weak.
No, I wasn't really buying it either. And I thought the whole nose thing was super dramatic and he like skated away super hard and he was holding his nose like it had been ripped
Yeah.
off his face. And he
So
practically pulled Makar's stick into his own face. So
yeah, I'm not thrilled about it, but it is what it is. And like we said, with the shorthanded goal they get, I literally did with a minute 36 left. I'm like, we're going to lose the game. I literally, because I was just so mad,
it's
just so mad. But we pulled the goalie, and it wasn't to the extent where I was like, if we pull the goalie, they'll score another empty netter. I didn't think they were capable of that, but I just got war flashbacks to the other time we played the Blues, and I had a 6-on-3 and couldn't do anything with that,
Yep.
So I was like, here we go again. It's just
Yeah.
another frustrating loss. Everything, and then finally, after skating around the perimeter for what felt like 30 years, they finally decide to attack the net, and lo and behold, Mikko Rantanen gets his second goal of the game with 7 seconds left.
Yeah, man, he is just like, I don't know. It's weird because I still don't, this whole narrative remains for him where you're like, we need more from him. He's gonna have to carry the team. He's not doing enough, blah, blah, blah. And then he continues to just carry the team and, put up when he needs to, but it always feels like he's not. I don't know. It's just this bizarre thing with Rantanen because he is on another level right now. If you step back,
elite tier right now.
I mean, this whole season, I would imagine this is the best season of his life so far, of his NHL career.
Sure seems like it.
But it's still his demeanor still just makes it easy to say that you want more from him, and I think everybody's a little bit guilty of that. But
sure. But like when he gets caught with those tripping penalties or something like that,
freaking
instead of trying to continue with the play, he'll turn to the ref and go like, "Really, you're gonna call that?" and not really have his head in the game. That's about the only shortcoming I always notice with him. Is that anytime he's whistled, he'll kind of throw his arms up in the air and essentially more or less give up on the play.
Yep, he definitely lacks discipline in that. Otherwise.
So that'd be the only thing. And like I said, this is coming from me. Okay. I can't skate. Okay. I can only judge and be the couch GM is what I can do. So, but the fact of the matter remains, that's I guess the vibe that I'm getting from him every single time when I watch him, I said, he's doing it again. Instead of saying, hey, instead of complaining to the referee, go in, get possession of the puck. Yeah, the whistle blows, but at least you're not setting them up to have a potential 6-on-5
Right. Yeah.
when they pull the goalie.
Yep.
But in either sense, though, he ends up being the overtime hero, which is great. We love him. Don't get me wrong about this. 30 seconds in, and you're like, done. You know, and that's in just exactly what I said. It's if you go to overtime, I know we'd win the game. So as soon as that happened and we won the faceoff, which JT Comfer, I feel like should be our faceoff man.
I know.
I was like, this is great. And for enough, first possession, not even a possession just of team to team, just glide right in, shoot, rebound, score.
Yeah, it's nice to put them no shots in overtime. One other positive from the game is we killed a 5-on-3. That was pretty
cool. And I don't think they scored on that 5-on-4 afterward, did they? For I think a minute and a half-ish.
They was did. That the McCarr double minor, they scored on that one because we got
but I think the 5-on-3, oh no. It was the Taves delay a game. So it was right after.
Stupid. Oh, I hate that.
That camera, it hit the camera, and that camera is part of the ice, if you ask me. Whatever, though. But it was so after, let's see, Tarasenko got his goal. McCarr was then serving out the second of his double minor.
Mm-hmm.
Almost done. Taves then gets into the box. That's right. I believe that's correct. Don't quote me on that, though. But in either sense, you won the game, and
right. If you're gonna have a good moral win along with a literal win, do it against St. Louis because we struggle to beat St. Louis when we're perfectly healthy.
I know.
Like, they're just they've just always been our problem child. You know, and Binnington must feel pretty stupid not stealing this game when he steals games. It's almost like he's just gotta be pounded and everything has to be against him for him to do well because there's no reason they outshot us 32-31 and those are his games to steal. And now that he's not stealing games from the Colorado Avalanche, he may very well have not a damn thing left that team.
Because Berube fixed his attitude. Like you know you are doing something very, very wrong as a goalie if Berube is saying, God, he's not playing hockey anymore. I don't know what the crap he's doing. And you have to get reprimanded by Berube. I don't know. Quick side note, though. Guess how many faceoffs JT Comfort took?
23.
Pretty close, 28. 111 of them. So that's a 39.3. But still, it's like he needs to be your faceoff guy. Yeah. Because it seems like in the key moments, he won those faceoffs.
Yeah.
Right? And so I'm like, dude, like right there, right? Just let him be the guy at all times. And I'm pretty sure I can't say for sure that's what happened in overtime. I thought what I saw was Comfort take the faceoff, win it, book it to the bench. I think, but
because Comfort won it, but then we lost possession immediately, like even with a faceoff one, but then we got it back immediately. So but that's what we used to do. We didn't always keep Kadri on for overtimes, did we? Didn't we have him?
No, I remember the one for it was kind of toward the endish of the season, but it was one of those important games that you'd like to win. It was Kadri took the faceoff and bolted for the bench.
Bounced, yeah. Probably.
And that's okay. You know,
Mac doesn't win the faceoff.
That's exactly right, to be honest with you. But anyways, so right now things are starting to look up, right? And now that you have a few pieces back, hopefully get some more tomorrow or Thursday. We got ourselves a very favorable schedule, all things considered.
A good week for some people to get their feet. Mm-hmm. I mean, definitely not any gimmies, but definitely not Boston, the Rangers, and apparently the super tough Philadelphia Flyers that unfortunately get to face off
to Arizona.
Yeah, how about that? Talk about.
I know, wasn't that fun for Clayton Keller? Oh, I'm very happy for him. But yeah, so Philadelphia is back.
Yeah.
And at this point, it's like you really need to correct the wrongs that you did in that
Right.
game.
This
Because
shouldn't feel so important for redemption, but also like
no, but it needs
for you
to at the
guys,
same time.
give your confidence back.
Pretty much. And so that's kind of the key to the game is, I don't want to say revenge, but
Mhm.
just avenge your
Yeah,
loss,
just
because
asserting.
that was one that you really should have won even without McKinnon, because the Flyers, they were just
Right.
slow with the puck and very nonchalant, and you know
Yeah.
I just avenge that last game. You have Lehkonen, you have Nichushkin back. That alone should be enough for you to win
Absolutely.
that game.
Well, and possibly Helm also. I mean, that would
Yeah,
super cool.
anyone
Do you
that we
think
could
that
get.
who do you think when we've got everyone but Mac and Landeskog and not considering Manson? I mean, so
Mhm.
we've sent Kaut back. I mean, who
Yep.
do you think gets sent out first? Would you think obviously Bleed goes, but
Oh.
when you've got Myers, Hudon, and Foodie,
Hmm.
what do you suppose?
That's a good question. I think if you, because right now McDonald is playing as a forward.
Yes, and he has to go through waivers to go back. And
Oh, he
Hudon does
does.
also.
Oh,
McDonald
dang.
and Hudon going through waivers is scary. I
Yeah,
don't
it
like
scares me. Yeah. I think right now, does Dryden Hunt? I don't think he does, because he signed a deal with the Avalanche, right? So he doesn't have to. I don't
I don't
think.
know, honestly.
But if Helm comes back, I would say put Brad Hunt back down to Loveland, move
Mhm.
Jacob McDonald down to that third defensive pairing. At least start there. And
Yeah.
then if Rodriguez is back, that's the dumb thing. It's like I
I
would
know.
probably at this point put Dryden Hunt down.
And even if he had to clear waivers, would it be the worst thing ever if he got picked up?
No, the only thing you'd miss from him is his energy sparks, which
I
anyone
think,
could do that on the team.
but I think he had like 4 minutes the last game. He's not getting minutes, if I recall.
Yeah, because
Like
he
way
had
low.
his one goal, which was a great timing, but you were hoping that
Right.
something would build off that, and it just didn't. So I would say you keep Foodie, because he is showing the most promise besides
Yeah.
Udon.
Yeah.
So I'd say you keep at least those two. But yeah, that's the worst part about when everyone starts to come back. It's like, all right,
I know.
who do you drop?
I didn't
Because you want
realize
them
that.
back.
Yeah. The waivers thing, which I don't worry too much about McDonald getting picked up off of waivers. I think that he's more sacred to us, and he really hasn't played very well while he's been up. But Hudon is definitely he's got NHL experience, and he's been making waves while he's been up with us. So I don't know, but maybe that's more so to us than the rest of the NHL. But he would definitely scare me. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, we're gonna come down to one roster spot ish,
I
so it's
think
gonna be
so.
tough.
According to Cap Friendly, Foodie is waivers exempt.
Yes.
That
Yep.
is correct. Yep. As is
Myers.
Ben Myers, Cal Burke, Olausen, Sample Ranta, Bocage. So yeah, that
I
would
wonder if
maybe
that's why we waited so long to bring Hudon up. I don't know. 'Cause
maybe.
it seems like we should have called him up like a long time ago, but I don't know.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like he's giving so much effort into those games. Like his first game there with, was it Philly that he came in, or right before? I can't remember which. But he was giving it his all,
Yeah.
and like it's like that's exactly what you need. And there's no better time for Udon, for Myers, for Foodie
Mhm.
than the game against Philadelphia, and why not the other two, Buffalo and Nashville, because
Right.
they're just about in the same kind of tax bracket
Yeah.
as the Flyers. So
Yep.
it's
It would
like,
be nice to see what they could put together if we had like one line could stay together
uh-huh,
for more than one game, more than like
yeah,
8 minutes, ideally.
yep. So yeah, that's the Philadelphia game. Though going back to the look ahead here
Yeah.
is your avenge the game you lost, and no better way to do it than having depth. Your young people, all
Yep.
that, get on their feet. If Juszczyk nets a couple goals, wouldn't mind that at all.
Oh,
Um, But then you have Buffalo, which again, you with those injuries that you did have and stuff, you managed to beat them.
Right.
However, you also managed to let them score a bazillion goals
Right.
against you. So my
Right.
key to the game here is lock down defense, not just for the goalies, but your defensive core as a whole. They didn't have a very good game against Buffalo the first time. You need to change that.
Yeah, and it hopefully with having some players back, we can see our defense play some better defense in Makar and Tays particularly, because there's a lot of times that Makar's getting beat pretty good. I mean, they're making mistakes too that you wouldn't anticipate out of them. So hopefully we can see better on both ends from him, because Makar is also being, it feels like he's being shut out offensively because he just doesn't even get the chance hardly with how, stuck playing super conservative defense. They don't have the freedoms that they're usually afforded to, which there was one play in particular though that Makar took, oh man, I think it was in last night's game. Makar took a chance and led an offensive breakout. Do you know what play I'm talking about? And Makar just had a beautiful breakout and he burned probably
Oh,
3.
yes. That was they were shorthanded
Yeah, and
in
it
that
was, yes,
instance.
it was when they were shorthanded, and I
Uh-huh.
was like, "Look at him go!" And
He
I just
took
could
it.
not believe
Yeah.
how quick he took off with that, and he didn't give a shit who was behind him because he knew he was skating fast.
He could have easily just have dumped the puck, got it out of
Yes,
the zone, no problem. But instead, he said, "I'm going,"
he
and
was angry at the beginning
he's
of that game.
dragging people with him. Essentially, it
Yeah,
was just
and he
one of
had
the
a
shot
big,
didn't quite ring, but that would have been great.
yeah. I don't know
That would
what
have been great.
he has times where it seems like something sets him off before a game, and yesterday at the beginning of the game, he had one big hit right at the beginning of the game, and then he led a couple offensive
Hmm.
rushes, and then that one where he had the shorthanded. And I don't know what was in him yesterday, unless he just like got a good night's sleep the night before. But
Maybe
my
you
biggest fear
never
tomorrow
know.
is Tage Thompson. Just I don't know, just grab onto his ankle and hang on to it the whole entire game, because
Yeah,
I
no.
mean, I don't know.
Keep an eye though. Thursday, we're gonna watch for that though. Get it on, put it on your bingo cards.
Oh,
Um, so your last game this week, Saturday, it's against Nashville, the game
yep.
that you were promised but never had.
Oh yeah.
So
I forgot
my
when.
key to the game is this: bring the waterworks, and and by that is make them cry. It's basically it's in the first game that you played against them, you did pretty okay. That was shortly after the tragic news of Peter McNabb. They followed up with a very great
Yeah.
win dedicated to him. Fantastic stuff. Do that same thing, because by Saturday, there's I just feel like by then Rodriguez and Helm have got to both be back.
Yeah.
Right? It's like I
And
just
what we
don't feel
have
like
seen.
they would wait another whole week. So I think by then you have a much better squad, one that's easily capable of beating a very struggling UC Soros and the Predators.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, take a drink.
I would hope by then, no matter who we have in, that what we have out will, I mean, the thing is, how much can you meld and play good hockey together where you can kind of get used to each other when you're playing Boston and you're just getting your asses kicked? It's hard to get a good feel for your line mates when we had so little puck possession, like positive puck
Hmm.
possession. So hopefully between Philadelphia and Buffalo, that we can actually get some good puck touches and passes and get a feel, get true game time feel for each other with those guys that are going to be up. Essentially,
Yeah.
once we have Rodriguez, Helm and Rodriguez back, the HL guys that are up, I'd hope that those guys will stay until we get Landy and Mac back, until we
Hmm.
kind of level out a little bit. So I would
Yep.
hope that after what they've had and what is coming, hopefully they can really get a good feel for it and go into Nashville strong and maybe have some semblance of actual lines, solidified lines. I don't
With
know.
players we're used to and we know and love.
Right.
So, according to RotoWire, Darren Helm's estimated return is tomorrow.
Woo!
That's according to this. Now, as far as how credible that is, that remains to be seen. But
Not
let's see. So
Rodriguez,
that's
though.
tomorrow. Rodriguez, that says the 15th. So you might get Helm one game tomorrow and then Rodriguez by Thursday.
Okay.
And I would be okay with that.
Right. I mean, anything that you get back at any time is a positive. Like,
Pretty much, yeah.
Even just having it be Lekkonen's second game back on the ice, and then with Nuke a little more time under their feet you're gonna see them just get better.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, it looks like things are starting to take an upswing. So let's just keep the momentum that we have from that St. Louis win, go through Philadelphia, Buffalo, Nashville, like there's no tomorrow. Don't hold back anything. Keep whatever momentum you got, keep it, use it, do something with it. So three very winnable games. I think for sure. Well, really all of them. I like, even with Nashville. I was going to say Nashville might be the one that'd be a bit tougher, but no, I think with the squad you have, what you just showed against St. Louis, you should be able to win all three of these
especially if our
games.
goalies show up. I mean, if we could come out of there, score 2 goals and win, that would be ideal. If we can only score 2 goals, I'd like to think that our goalies will still make it so that can be a win for us, which isn't necessarily fair, but also we need you to steal a game for us.
That would be great. Yeah. So it's, and that's exactly what hockey is, team game, right? So it's like, not only do skaters have to do well, but so does your goalie, because skaters could be as great as possible, but if a goalie lets in five goals.
Oh man, I gotta mention, did you not love Georgie's helmet last night? It was so ballin'. Or excuse me, Frankie's helmet.
Franco's. It looked really good. His pad combo with the helmet and the reverse retro.
And he's not like a loud pad kind of person. Honestly, between him and Grubauer, it was about the most boring pads a person could dream up.
Very abstract, though. Very boring, abstract.
I really liked
but it looks great. It looks very good.
So that was a win also in the win column. We were watching a super crappy stream, so this is just random. And yes, I'm a bad person, but I really liked the Blues reverse retro in the pictures, but they looked so neon in the stream that we were watching last night. And I don't know if that was for the stream, but it looked way brighter.
I thought they looked great. I thought they looked absolutely phenomenal.
But I'm just like a lover of a good jersey is a good jersey is a good jersey. I'm not going to go buy it, but I like it a lot. Same with, I really wish I could just go buy that Sharks reverse retro, but just like, there's nothing about the Sharks that excites me at all.
I should have my wife go get mine, because I bought a Sharks reverse retro.
Did you get one? Oh yeah, the colors. Those are my colors. Yep.
So good.
But I was shocked at how many people were commenting on how awful the St. Louis jerseys were. It really surprised me.
I don't see that, though. I think they're wonderful. They're a beautiful jersey.
Reddit does not agree.
Yeah, I think my wife gave me the nod. I wonder if she's going to go get that Sharks jersey. All right, right before we log off, we'll just do a quick little show and tell. There it is.
Oh, yes.
The lighting is kind of meh, but
I love the font, that font, which...
Where are we going here? Let's see. There.
Jeff Merrick was doing a super interesting
story. That one too.
History.
This was the price. This was the price of showing the Sharks jersey. This was the Rangers reverse retro featuring.
I have a Rangers jersey.
Featuring a one Igor Shesterkin. So there you go. That's for my wife. That's the only screen time any kind of Ranger memorabilia is going to get.
At least that Shesterkin one's not going to age poorly. No, he's already there.
He's a good dude. So. Okay. Well, I don't think I have anything else to add at this point. I think we've covered everything, and I'm looking forward to a great week, man. I hope you are too.
I really hope we can come back Monday buzzing, because it's been a rough couple weeks. So hopefully we can come back excited about everyone, just waiting on our two big boys, Mac and Landy, and be like a freaking rocket ship straight.
Ooh. Okay. Let's see. Am I picking out the outro? I got the button ready.
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess that is everything. I don't know why I keep thinking we keep sitting here talking Habs hockey. Well, that is everything. If you liked what you heard, hopefully it'll be a little more exciting next week. So you can come back, check us out on Instagram at Clusterpuck Pod. We've also got Twitter. We've got our email address. Like Nick always says, if you want to whine or complain, say something nice, compliment our hair, our bad.
I
choice
only deal with
piercings.
compliments. Brittany's the one that does the complaints. She
We
knows how
do.
to handle them better
Love
than
it
I
all.
do.
That's the clusterpuckpod at gmail.com. It's just pod, right? Yeah, we'll
Clusterpuck
hit it up.
Podcast.
We
It's
love
somewhere.
having everyone talk possible. We will be live next week at the same time, right? No Monday
Next week,
game.
same time.
Perfect.
There is a Monday game, but it's 7 Mountain Time, so we'll be able to slip in the show right before puck
Awesome.
drop.
So yep, we will be more timely next week. But yeah, that's all for this week. We hope you guys have a great week. We will see you then.
Go Avs, go, baby!
You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
'Cause this party is